episode 120 odd. Yes, we've been doing this for way too long. But thankfully, you guys still turn up and say hello, so that's wonderful. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion. And I've been a bit Billy No Mates tonight, so thankfully, the Draft Rugby have gone onto their bench, pulled in their super sub, and Alex is joining me. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, well, what about yourself?
Not bad at all, not bad at all. So those of you watching on YouTube, Alex's, you can see Alex's Twitter handle down there, so you can go and have a chat with him and be abusive about all the stuff he talks about in the next hour or so. And as you can tell, he's not actually on screen, but don't worry. For those of you who are on the podcast, you can obviously hear him as well, so don't worry about it. You're not going to worry that he's not there on screen, but it's all good. Now, it has been a busy old week off the pitch, and you're obviously in Australia, so you'll be happy to hear that Hardy Surveyor is going to come over and play a bit of league over there.
Yeah, well, that's has that been confirmed? Has it?
No. It's all rumored.
Obviously not. It's just a big talking point at the moment. I read an article there. What he was talking about, going to the Roosters or the Storm, which are essentially just the two Premier League teams in Australia at the moment.
Well, actually, from what I hear, he actually went and said the Rebels or the Roosters or the Rebels. We're getting the Storm and the Rebels mixed up. But
yeah, I think so. I think so, because the Rebels are obviously not a league team.
No.
Yes.
No, but he's ruffled a few feathers with this, because he has gone to the Ice House podcast. Which I think there's some ex-league guys who've got a podcast, and he's had a chat with them, and I've seen various mainstream or traditional media people throwing their toys out the pram a little bit on Twitter, going, "Oh, why isn't he talking to us anymore? Why does he have to go to all these alternative media things?" And it's because, guys, you ripped his brother to pieces in the press. He doesn't like you.
Gold.
And it's kind of interesting that he's basically decided, look, I'm going to tell people what I want via Instagram and podcasts that I get on with, and I'm not even going to use the Hurricanes media team. So because you know how he announced his injury.
Yes, definitely. Been following it very closely. Obviously, being part of the Draft Rugby. We're having very close eyes on what's going on with Hardy Surveyor at the moment.
So he announced that via his Instagram. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but that upset the either Hurricanes or New Zealand media people, and he got told off for saying it too early. Now apparently they won't tell him when he's going to be fit, so he can't tell anybody.
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go. That's being a surveyor, that doesn't really surprise me, especially with Julian's mishaps as well.
But I mean, come on, you can't tell. You can't go, I'm not going to tell you how long it is before you're fit. I mean, that's a guy. It's the guy's body. It's his own body, for us crying out loud. I mean, jeez, they've lost.
Yeah, well,
go on.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to kind of hear. Obviously, Artie, with what's going on with his injury, he's we're keen to see him back in Super Rugby, obviously, from a draft perspective, and what a hell of a World Cup did he have last year as well. Probably the All Blacks' best, wouldn't you say?
Oh, he's definitely up there.
Throughout the year, yeah. So we want to see him stay in rugby. And I don't know why he's actually looking to come across the league. What is he trying to follow Sonny Bill? Is that what's going on?
Well, he's seen that. I think that the rugby union people have basically pissed him off by trying to say how he should and shouldn't communicate things to the public, and so I think he's just getting really upset with that side of things, and also it might be throwing a bit of crumbs, throwing a bit of free publicity to his mates' way, because apparently the Ice House are his mates, and I think they did say, if we put a gun to your head, which NRL team would you play for? So I'm not taking it too seriously.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either. But in saying that, the Roosters, they've been premiers back to back twice. Is it their third year in a row? I can't even recall. But they're pretty much a dominant team under Trent Robinson, who's rated one of the best league coaches coming up of all time. So it wouldn't be a bad home to go to be honest.
And I think a lot of people have said he's got the right sort of physique and playing style for league. I don't know. I don't watch league at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's as All Blacks fans, don't worry too much. The Chiefs' most footy players would rather speak to YouTubers or social media platforms. Not surprised Ardy has spoke to the Ice Project. I think they are. Yeah, the traditional media have caused a rod for their own back on this one.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. That's for sure.
Now, this is going to you're probably going to hear this and go, Paul, this is what Australia has to put up with every single week. But we don't have a Saturday night 7 p.m. game this week on Super Rugby. It's
wow, that's right, because there are 3 buys I think this round. What is it? Who's got the buys this week?
This week are Crusaders, Chiefs, and
Crusaders, and Brums, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's
and the Hurricanes have done a terrible thing, and they're playing their game at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. There you go. What do you think of the change of times? As in the 15, 30-minute difference, starting a little bit earlier.
So so starting at what? The Friday and Saturday used to be a 7:35 kickoff, and now it's a 7:05 kickoff in New Zealand time. The reason behind that is they did a survey last year, and apparently the feedback was, "Hey, can we have it earlier so our kids can go?"
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. I get that.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Most places like Hamilton, Wellington, Christchurch, and Dunedin, they're not that big. So if you knock off work at 5, or even you can make 7 o'clock easy. Auckland a little bit more difficult, maybe, but it caught a lot of people out because basically Super Rugby doesn't know how to communicate to people.
So it's a pretty familiar story throughout, isn't it?
So for me, it's a bit of nothing really, except the fact that to me it doesn't make much difference whether it's 7 or 7:30 anymore, because my girls go to bed at 8 o'clock. So
right. Does that mean that's your time from 8 o'clock onwards? Does it?
Well, no. Well, I'm in all. I'm separated from my partner, so I only have to have my girls all the time. But it doesn't mean that they get told very, very, very clearly, "Daddy's watching the rugby." Off you go.
You don't put it like that.
Daddy's watching the rugby now, and I'm 10 minutes till half time. You get into bed. I'll come turn the lights off and give you a hug then. So, parenting 101 for you there.
There you go. No, rugby's priority number 1. That's all the listeners should know that by now, shouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, this is entirely what I'm trying to create a job out of. So let's be honest. It's that's work time. It's serious stuff. So for me, it's been no big deal. I guess for you guys, it's a bit of a rush to get home to watch the game, isn't it?
Well, it is. Yeah, it comes when it comes Friday night. Obviously, those working like myself from 9 to 5, or a little bit later, it's a bit of a rush home on public transport. But I just whack it up on my phone and try and watch it live on the bus or the train or whatever, just to make sure that I'm not missing a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of chat that goes down live on the draft chat, so I'm just trying to steer away if I'm a little bit behind. So I can watch it in peace without knowing what's going on.
But if you're watching it live on the bus with your phone, do you have to have like multiple phones? One for the TV,
I can't do that now. Everything else gets zoned out. So that's I've definitely missed a few stops just from watching rugby. Yeah. So the time scheduling is it's interesting. It is interesting. And I do like it, especially at, I don't know, in Australia, I'm not sure what's going on in Kiwiland, but obviously just with the start of rugby in the back end of January and early Feb, I've actually enjoyed it, to be honest.
I mean, I'm happy for it because, hey, I've just give me more rugby more of the time.
Yeah. Quickly, there was a bit of a dry patch after the World Cup. I was going through withdrawals, to be honest, because we were all all the fellas and the draft fellas were all in Japan actually for it. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, there was a bit of withdrawals going on around that Christmas period, and cricket wasn't hitting the void, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I keep track of like the Pro 14, the Guinness Premiership, Top 14, Major League Rugby. I'm just stupid. But I was a bit burnt out after the Rugby World Cup. Actually, I needed some time to detox.
Fair enough, especially if you're a Kiwi fan too.
Being an English fan in New Zealand.
English fan in New Zealand. There we go. Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed the semi-final and obviously had a nightmare come the final.
Fair.
So yes, but it's especially as I watched it with a South African as well, which was he decided not to make it easy.
They are the best team in the world. And I even think their Super Rugby teams have benefited big time from just incompetence from what's happened in the World Cup.
Yeah, well, there's that. There's also one of the things that we've seen, or that I've noticed, is that particularly the Sharks' defensive pattern looks very similar to the South African defensive pattern. So you can see the fact that Rassie is working well with the provinces, or well with the franchises for the first time, whereas previously there'd be this, please arrest the player for twice, and the Bulls or someone would go, no. Hello. Especially working together. So I think Rassie's got them all on the same page, and is helping them with their coaching, which I think is showing through now.
Obviously a superstar, Rassie. I don't. It's obviously with the World Cup being a World Cup, he's going to be Sir Rassie Erasmus, isn't he?
Sir Rassie.
It's got a good ring to it.
That does have a good ring to it. Yeah, absolutely. This is your. Oh dear. Yeah, but having beaten England, I'm not sure Her Majesty's going to be kind of very quick to tap him on the shoulder with the old sword.
True.
But I think he's doing a fantastic job with South African rugby. You're right, and getting them all in the same direction. Talking of South African rugby, now you said pre-show that you're not fully up to speed with CVC. Have you followed their investments in Europe?
No, not really. So you're going to be filling me in as you're talking about it now, which is good. I'm learning.
A quick summary. So they've bought they're the people that used to own Formula One and made a sort of $3 billion or something out of it. They've bought 27% of the Guinness Premiership. They're buying a similar, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, they're going to have a similar stake in the Pro 14, and they're going to get something like a 17% stake, I think it is, in the Six Nations. Now, the Six Nations also includes all home test matches across all those Six Nations. So,
wow.
So basically, so control of the November window as well. They're now apparently in talks with South Africa and New Zealand about their club and domestic tests.
They're going to have a big say, by the sounds of it, of what's going on in rugby just as a whole.
Yep, exactly. Now they've been distanced from, because there was some chat about South Africa going up to the Six Nations. They've been distanced from that, so they've said no, that's not one of our plans. World Rugby has said actually yes, we are now talking to them as well, because as I had a chat with the CEO of Bay of Plenty a couple of weeks ago, and he said, look, private investment is coming, whether you like it or not, and as unions and provinces, you've just got to get yourself in a position ready for that, and hence Bay of Plenty are working with Global Rapid Rugby, for example. So basically yes, that's exactly what the deal is on the table with South Africa and New Zealand is not clear, but it's quite clear that, as you say, they've got big plans globally for rugby. They're already talking about a club rugby championship final kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. As in something that we're talking about? What was it, a couple of years ago?
As in Saracens versus Crusaders.
Oh, so the other way, okay, yeah, club rugby footy.
Rugby footy, yeah. Now the thing they were talking about last year about the Nations League thing.
Yes. That fell through because World Rugby was talking to a different
private investment company, not
Yeah,
CVC.
right.
And CVC was talking to Six Nations and said, "Hey, whoa, folks, don't accept this because we've not bought it." Um, so
Yeah,
there is a
right. Okay.
chance of that being resurrected with under CVC money rather than the other people's money. So, yeah, it's times they are changing. I think is what's happening here. I guess the most worrying thing is that Australia aren't being named as being talked to.
Yeah, that's obviously from an Australian perspective, we're all kind of going through difficulties. We don't even know who our next broadcaster is going to be at the moment. We're still going through the deal, whether it's going to be Foxtel, whether it's going to be, there are talks about it being Optus. We're still unclear. So
Channel 10 apparently are also
that's the free to air footy, rugby as well. Rugby Australia and Foxtel. And just the broadcasts in general at the moment, they put rugby union in Australia on Foxtel on I think it's like channel 507, which is a lower channel, and it's one of those ones that you don't even scroll past. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they've especially with this deal coming up, they've got rid of all the rugby shows that we used to have, and they put rugby on the back burner at the moment, and obviously as big fans of what we are, we're a little bit worried.
Foxtel seem to be trying to run the sport down as much as possible to get it as cheap as possible, and then try and expect people to watch it. You're like, guys, if you're going to run the sport down, people have stopped watching. You want people to watch. It just doesn't. It seems a very, very strange marketing or negotiation tactic to me.
Yeah, completely. So we're as big fans, we're just trying to figure out what's next. Our gut is telling us that it's going to be Foxtel.
Okay.
But obviously nothing's pen to paper. That's just a bit of a gut feel because Foxtel's had it for the rights for 25 odd years now plus, and there hasn't been any kind of disagreements throughout those years. So it's it's interesting times ahead, I think.
It is. When you've got Sky TV over here saying, we want rugby so much, we'll give you 5% of our company as part of the deal.
Yeah.
It's a very,
you guys live and breathe it.
Well, actually, rugby in New Zealand is on the decline, in all honesty. And Sky have realised that. I think New Zealand rugby is slowly figuring this out. And hence, junior season tickets for Super Rugby are free this year. Because just to try and get people to turn up. So if you buy an adult season ticket, you can get a junior one for free.
Yeah, wow. Why I don't know. I haven't been following why is it in decline?
Basically, it's New Zealand Rugby and the Super Rugby franchises have taken the audience for granted, and just not really engaged with them. I heard a podcast with the head of digital for New Zealand Rugby, and he kept talking the whole way through about how 80% of the audience was overseas. So, well, yes, they're not the ones that turn up to games, though.
Yeah.
It's good having an overseas piece, and it helps with your AIG sponsorship and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't look after your home, clearly he wasn't focusing on people in New Zealand. And you're like, well, if you're going to ignore them, then they'll go and follow Steve Adams in basketball, or they'll play on the computer games or whatever. And that's essentially what's happening.
Yeah, wow, that's huge.
So and Sky TV were good enough actually to they gave me I sat down with them for an hour before Christmas and went through, here's how you grow and engage fans. So hopefully, and one of my ideas was actually free junior season tickets, but actually with a half price adult ticket. I went even further. So we'll see if anyone listens, but hopefully they will.
Hopefully they do. Sounds like you know what you're talking about.
Well, if you say it confidently enough, you know what it's about, does it, really?
That's the trick of the trade. That's what you need to do.
Absolutely. So, are you worried about the coronavirus?
Not really, to be honest. No.
Because we've already had the Italy versus Scotland. Italy versus Scotland women's Six Nations game postponed.
Cancelled. Yeah.
This weekend, both the Pro 14 games in Italy have been postponed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing games getting postponed because of coronavirus. The New Zealand Prime Minister has said, look, this travel ban to China isn't to stop coronavirus coming to New Zealand. It's just to slow it down. It will get here.
Right.
So I'm wondering how long it is before we see rugby games being played behind closed doors.
Right.
Just to get them finished. Because it's not like soccer, which you can play 3 games a week to catch up.
You need recovery time, obviously.
Yeah, the players just start falling apart. So there's only so many games they can postpone before they have to say, well, we've got to play the games just with no one watching.
Yeah. No, wasn't, I don't know, maybe I'm just making this up, but weren't there games postponed or cancelled in Japan? Did that happen or no? Maybe I'm just making it all up. I thought I read something somewhere, but maybe they didn't. Righto. Sorry about
the Japan one, I'll have to chat. We'll have to reach out to. If you want to know about Japanese rugby, by the way, Rich Freeman Rugby on Twitter.
I follow him religiously. And I love his commentating at the moment too.
Because he's a sideline guy
he is.
for the Sunwolves games, and they go to him more than I think any sideline guy anywhere else in Super Rugby.
Oh, definitely. Even legends of the game like George Gregan, Kafe always go down to Rich Freeman, and he just smashes them with knowledge. So pretty impressive.
Who's this Japanese guy, Rich?
Basically, who does he play for? And Rich just off the tip of his tongue, he literally just recites where he's come from, where he's born, how old is he, etc., etc. So he knows exactly what's going on.
Yep, he saves them from doing any homework and actually preparation. Not that I'm cynical or anything. Oh dear. So my expectation is definitely for European games, but I could also see it happening for Super Rugby, that before the end of the season we will be seeing games played behind closed doors because of the coronavirus outbreak.
Wow, interesting.
So that's my big take this week.
Interesting, very interesting.
So from a rugby draft perspective, do you take into account which players like playing in front of big and small crowds?
Not really, no. That doesn't affect their scores in the end, I think. No, more than anything, we just take into account injuries, and last year, obviously, with what happened in Christchurch, the Crusaders and the Highlanders game got cancelled.
Yeah.
So there was a whole bit of controversy with how we were going to score the points, and I ended up winning. And I thought I'd just drop it in anyway, beating David Cargregg, one of the hosts of Draft Rugby. Hope he's listening. We have systems in place for if these things do happen, though.
Yeah, they do. And we've had. There's been weather cancellations. It's kind of your normal one, isn't it? It's not normally this sort of thing. But I was surprised by the Brumbies last weekend turning up and beating the Chiefs, especially with the
How good was
outbreak.
that? I wanted to bring that up the top there, actually, to get your thoughts on that.
The Brumbies turned up and played a very, very had the right game plan, and they executed it well. Totally. Yeah. I was wondering if the game was going to get called off because they wouldn't be able to field an entire team because of mumps. That was my.
Yeah, mumps has got the Brumbies, not coronavirus so far, but not even phased by it apparently.
Well, I've seen a few Waratahs fans go, "Hey, can we get that strain of mumps, please?"
We're desperate for a win on the board, being a Waratahs fan as well. So, it's we're not going very well with. Not going very well at all.
Yeah.
Let's just say, yeah. But the Brumbies win is, And I think it's just one of those teams. It's the Brums obviously have structure in their play, and it's the only, it's besides the South African teams, has that set piece structure where you can actually get on top and try and dominate the Chiefs. Which is like, I'm surprised the Crusaders couldn't even do it. So, Crusaders have a weaker pack than last year.
I think it was down to the Brumbies played basically possession rugby in that, so the Chiefs didn't see the ball for the first 50 minutes. First half hour, first 30 minutes. Whereas the Crusaders are not a possession rugby side. They're a side that, like, give us the ball, we're scoring now. Right, defend. Give us the ball, we're scoring now. Arsene, who I regularly have on the show, we have a discussion about that possession isn't such a great stat to have a high number in. It just means you went lots of phases without scoring. Sometimes, rather than actually showing you're dominant in the game. But in this case, the Brumbies used it as a tool to stop the Chiefs having any opportunities to score or play, and they did it. It's something that extra Chiefs like to do as well over in the UK, and they did it extremely well. It's not something that we normally see them do. It's something that they planned for specifically for this game, and I'll be interested to see if we see them playing out their own 22 against other teams.
Yeah, Brumbies. They're probably our only hope in the Australian Conference, to be honest. The rest of the teams are a bit rubbish.
Yep.
Rebels obviously losing the first couple, and their only win is against the Tars. And the Tars, obviously a 0 from 3 with a bye last week, and some Wolves are doing better than all of them. So the Reds are okay. We're showing promise with young guns. And they had a dominant win over the Moondogs last week. But yeah, no, it's I think it's the Brumbies are going to top the conference and hopefully do us proud, to be honest.
Yes, I think they'll top the conference. I'm not sure they'll go that deep when it comes to finals time, but then again, I didn't.
They did just beat the Chiefs. Come on. Come on.
Do you follow Ben Darwin?
Yes, I love all his theories of cohesion.
So somebody put out there that the Brumbies were going well. He said, well, they've not beaten a good team yet, and they went the Chiefs, and he went, the Chiefs did not put out a good team. Now, and that's down to that cohesion thing. That he thought that was an uncohesive team, and previously they'd been playing Boshier, Karpik, and Kane as a back three, which is 3 sevens, and they switched up to Jacobson, Kane, and Slokatoa, I think it is. Who is a great number 8 who's been coming off the bench, but that's a traditional 6-7-8 compared to playing 3 sevens. So it's a very different style of rugby for the Chiefs in that game.
Yeah, definitely. I did think that they want to give Jacobson a run too. Obviously, he had concussion and he was injured as well before then, so they wanted to try and squeeze him in there. But he came off after 9-11 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, he didn't last very long.
Maybe he's a bit
4 weeks,
undercooked.
It was undercooked, and also trying to change the balance of your team, I think, was a problem. The Brumbies, the chief in the live chat says, Brumbies played well. They did play very well, absolutely, and they definitely deserved to win. Don't get me wrong. But it was interesting seeing that, and I think that's seeing Ben Darwin mention that. But in the Sunwolves, apparently they made 9 changes between the game before from the Chiefs to the Reds team, the games.
Yeah, I think from the start they weren't. They just feel like I feel like that they didn't even show up, to be honest. As harshly as that sounds.
It was. As soon as one score went, I think the heads just dropped. But for a team that's been together for about 2 weeks pre-season,
they've done all right though.
They did all right in one game. And then after that, for me, I picked the same 15 every single game until they're broken. Yeah, changing 9 players, switching around. I just don't think they've just not had the pre-season to be able to do that. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, putting a whole bunch of mercenaries together and expecting them to actually perform. It's at some time or at some stage it's going to have to fall apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, and I think in that opening game, they all looked like they were playing really happy, and it looked like kind of basically the coach had said, "Hey guys, how do you want to play?" They're like, well, we'd like to throw it around a bit, please. He says, right, go for it. Enjoy your rugby.
And of course. Against the Rebels, though, how big was the smile on their faces?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was hoping they would carry that through. Having a bye and then facing the Chiefs, I think, really just destroyed their season and any momentum they had.
I do agree with that, definitely. Although I didn't think they put on the worst performance I've ever seen against what the Chiefs, who people tip them to win the Super Rugby this year. So I don't think they will personally, but I thought they were okay against the Chiefs. I've seen worse performances, that's for sure.
Okay, so who are you tipping for Super Rugby this year?
It's going to be the boring old Crusaders again.
Oh, dearie me.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go out on a limb and say the Stormers will manage to get home advantage and that'll see them through?
Yeah, maybe. They've obviously still got Kalisha to come back and lead them through. So they've been dominant. Their defence has been absolutely fantastic. And I literally think it's, a core of their pack is South African, front row, back row, all of the above. So, I think they're definitely in with a shot, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, that's. I was very sceptical when Herman, another guy who comes on the show, tipped the Stormers to win the whole thing pre-season, and I was like, where's that coming from? And then having seen them turn up, it's like, well, okay, maybe he knows something.
Well, their front row is the South African front row. So you can't really go wrong with that, to be honest. And if Bongies is keeping Malcolm Marks out of the starting team, it's pretty dominant.
They played very well, and good. Hats off to them, must say. Now, we've been having a marketing genius in Australia who's given us 5 points to fix rugby union.
Yep.
What do you think of Singleton's ideas?
Well, let's run through them, I reckon. What was the first one? Was it the points to the penalty goals, wasn't it?
I think there was one that was tries were worth 7 points or something, I think it is.
Yeah, I should probably bring it up. I don't have them in front of me.
If you can, I'm desperately searching for them as well.
Yeah, righto. So
there's one that struck me as being used by somebody else, which was you have 5 phases before you have to hand over the ball.
Yes, that was one of them. So I'll just read it.
Okay.
A team could have only 5 phases of the ball to gain ground. If not, it sacrifices possession. If it makes forward progress, as Rex Boxham said, it holds the ball indefinitely. What do you think of that?
Okay, so you got to make. Okay, so if you're making forward progress, you're okay. Okay, yep.
What do you think of that? I don't like it, to be honest. But,
no.
It just ruins the game for me a little bit. Actually, I had a good look through these, and I think most of them are a bit off and a bit outrageous.
Okay, so 1 point for penalty goal, but 3 points for goal kicked as a result of a penalty for foul play. Okay, so, but aren't all penalties for foul play of some sort? That's
exactly cheating. Right. Yeah, aren't they?
Yes. Conversions and field goals are worth 2 points and tries 7, whatever. All you're going to do with increasing the points for tries is make every team commit, basically give up penalties in their own 22 and never allow anyone to score a try. Only 9 technical reasons why penalties can be awarded for breaches of scrums, lineouts, rucks and mauls, thus eliminating all those archaic rules produced by lawyers.
Who like to sit around and debate how many angels can sit on the point of a pin. That's hilarious.
9 technical reasons. Really? You've really pulled that one out your arse, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Kick out on the full in general play would be outlawed. So what's he going to do? Build walls on the side of the pitch so it can't go out. I mean, look, the 5 face thing, the not kicking out on the full, all just smacks of rugby league to me.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's and our game is very different to rugby league, and that's what we hold pride in, I think.
Yep. And this idea that, mate, you're 78, you're out of touch.
I think so. I think so. The only rule, to be honest, that I would, and I get frustrated by, the only rule that I would actually introduce is to turn the time off when scrums are getting done. When as soon as the ball's out, the clock's back on, and then we play rugby.
So I'm going to have an interview with the scrum coach for Hawke's Bay, who the Mighty 7 Cup team, and to try and get an armchairs, basically scrummaging for armchair fans, so that people can actually understand what's going on and what to look for. Because let's be honest, for a lot of us, it's just a bunch of bodies falling on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for those of you who are following, that'll be a supporters only video. I'm going to pop down to Napier and have a chat with him. He's Argentinian, so he knows scrummaging. There's none of this. He's a real scrummager. So look out for that video in the coming weeks. Scrums are. But one of the things they say is that look, the ball in play time is up. We're actually getting more rugby per 80 minutes. So should we be too worried about the fact we lose a bit of time to scrums?
Yeah, I don't know. I just the Northern Hemisphere teams and even the South African teams, they know how to collapse a scrum at crucial times of the game when the tick time's ticking. So that's the only part that I get frustrated with scrums. They know how to intentionally slow the dark arts of the scrum. They know how to intentionally slow it down.
Yep, no, I agree. It is one that I would do. Since we're talking about law changes, one that was put out there was that you can call a mark anywhere on the pitch. The idea being to stop the opposition from kicking the ball.
Yeah, right. It's very much like AFL.
True. Yep. But it's also, I mean, you used to be allowed to call a mark anywhere on the pitch. It only got restricted to the 22 relatively recently, i.e. my lifetime. So that was, so you're not a fan of that one then?
No, I don't like it. That's too much like AFL for me, I think.
Oh dear.
I'm a bit of a traditionalist, to be honest.
Oh well, you might like this one then.
Yeah.
That whilst you can have 7 players on the bench, you're only allowed to use 3 of them.
Ooh, that sounds like football.
The idea, true. The idea basically being that at the moment, because you can replace your whole pack, they're conditioned for power, not for cardiovascular. Whereas if you actually make every player play 80 minutes, then they'll be lighter and there'll be less injuries.
Yeah, I do like what Eddie Jones said. It was a 23 in the day. During the
World Cup. Are you still there?
Heads. So during the World Cup, I just broke up there for a little bit. Well, Eddie Jones says out of the side of his mouth that it's a 23-man game when Ford wasn't picked, I think it was.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. He has his role off the bench. I don't know. I kind of agree. I think I like the way that the subs are used at the moment, to be honest.
I just think there's too many, and that's actually.
You think it's too many?
Yeah, I think if we is because you're bringing fresh players on, there's less. You're not seeing teams tiring and opening up space in that last 20 minutes as much. I think we get more space, we get more tries. I think you've got players will be conditioned differently, so there won't be quite so much power involved in the game. And people say, tired players get injured. Well, yes, but putting fresh players against tired players really causes injuries, which is what we're getting now. So I think for player welfare, it might sound a bit counterintuitive, but I think the less subs we have, the better player welfare we have.
Yeah, right. Okay. Fair enough.
Is my one. Jordan, you're quite right. Every country is guilty of collapsing scrums to run the clock down.
That's a Northern Hemisphere special. Those ones.
But New Zealand have been known to do it once or twice.
Oh, of course. They know how to do everything, the Kiwis.
Oh dear. Gavin in the live chat's asking whether the Rebels can upset the Highlanders and about the Bulls, Jaguares, and those games. The DrivingMaul.com for my predictions for Super Rugby next round are already up. So if you want to head over to DrivingMaul.com, you can get those. They are for supporters only up until Friday morning. Friday morning, they'll be unlocking them for the public, and everyone can have a look at them. Driving Maul, do you think Wales are in trouble? Have you been following the Six Nations, Alex?
Yes, I have been following a little bit. I just know that France are on top, and they're dominating. That's what I know, and that's what I like to see with the young guns.
It's exciting seeing them play. I was not expecting them to beat Wales away from home, to be honest. I thought that was the one game they were going to lose, but they were still going to win the championship. But now it looks like the Grand Slam is on. One of the questions I asked because the attacking scrum was asking for questions, I said, okay, how long is the honeymoon period that you can talk about being a transition team? And Ben Darwin came back and said 10 games.
Yeah, right.
So basically, you have to give Wayne Pivac until the end of the year because of what they play about 11 games. So, do I think Wales are in trouble? No, not really.
They've obviously got a new coach, so they're going through a bit of a transition period at the moment.
Yeah, and let's be honest, Wayne Pivac's style of play is very different to Warren Gatland's.
No Warren ball.
No Warren ball, exactly.
Yeah. Who's your tip? Do you think France will take it the whole way?
Yep. No, I think France will Grand Slam from here because they've got Scotland next away. Yep. To be honest, Scotland have not been impressive. When your head coach won't talk to your second best player and definitely the best fly half you've got, then they're just their camp is not a happy place. Clearly. Yeah. So France beat Scotland, and then France at home to Ireland. I don't see why they shouldn't beat Ireland at home as well.
Yeah, no. Ireland have been a little bit underwhelming for me for the Six Nations.
I thought in the first game we saw Murray and particularly Colin Murray was pretty good, but to me, a lot of those players are not going to make it to next Rugby World Cup.
Yeah.
And they're not moving forwards quickly enough, and I think that to me that's going to be a problem for them.
How old Sexton's not going to make it to the next World Cup, so how old is he? 30, 31, 32?
He also tends to get targeted a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. You've got him, but it doesn't help that it's Carney, isn't it? Not Carney, no. The Munster fly half have gone blank.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the Munster fly half is injured, so Sexton's immediate replacement, the next number 10 is injured. So it's kind of like all the rest have got zero experience. We can't switch them just yet, which I think is part of it. But I can't see Sexton making it to next Rugby World Cup.
No, I don't. I think that's kind of off the agenda. I think.
But see, one of the things that a lot of people hear say, he's 34, is Sexton. So he's definitely not making the next Rugby World Cup. But I think one of the differences between the Northern Hemisphere teams and the Southern Hemisphere teams is that you're seeing a bunch of players, Johnny Sexton, Alwyn Jones is another one, who are sticking around for the Lions and then are probably retiring from international rugby.
Yeah.
Which means that the national team can't move on and target the next Rugby World Cup because they're keeping players ready for the Lions.
I think agreed.
So I think that's I think we're seeing that to a certain degree is what's happening, and then that basically hinders them from winning the next Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, no, of course. With you probably discussed it on your previous podcast. What about the news that South Africa is thinking about going on to the Six Nations? Have you discussed that previously?
I have, but we can always do it again. I'm not putting too much.
Not reading into it too much?
No.
Yeah. All right.
So my mind, I don't see why the Six Nations would want them, to put bluntly.
Fair enough.
They don't need them for the money. It's a whole bunch of travel that they don't really want or need. And the fans, again, would enjoy it for a season or two and then would get pissed off at having to fly down to South Africa for games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's it's interesting to see what the Sappers tend to hold the cards when it comes to Sanzar and what's going on as well. So,
well, yeah, if you guys aren't going to get your TV contracts until 2 minutes before the tournament starts, you're not going to hold any cards, are you?
Yeah, exactly right. And and that's why Australia's in a bit of a shambles at the moment. I think we're just competing against too many different codes at the moment, and have been. So it's rugby union's not the first sport here. It's right down towards the bottom. So,
but also you don't seem to be able to all get on the same page over there. So you've got all these old Todgers who are Wallaby legends who came through Shoot Shield, who think Shoot Shield is the bee's knees, and that all the money should be thrown at Shoot Shield and sod everyone else in Australia.
Well, the good thing is Rugby Australia, they brought the Shoot Shield back, so they put everything back under the same umbrella, which is good.
Yep, no, they seem to be heading like that. But there's been this crowd for the past 3-4 years now who keep putting out these manifestos of making club rugby great again and all this kind of stuff. Like, look, no, club rugby is going to be amateur or semi-amateur, and enjoy it like that, and it's doing very well in that mould. But you need a good NRC or something like the NRC.
NRC's got sacked. That's now done.
Well, I thought that was kind of still TBD.
Is it still going? Yeah, It's I think the NRC. I don't know. It probably is TBC, but it's kind of everyone's put that on the back burner. I think just from feeling. I actually think it's a great competition, to be honest. And it's generated some great rugby players. Karevi, for instance, who dominated the NRC, and he was one of our best Wallabies.
Patai's come through there as well, hasn't he? There.
Yeah.
So I think that that you need that stepping stone between club rugby and Super Rugby to develop players. Where I remember talking to actually might have been Ben Darwin as well. But no, also talking to one of the Zach, someone who used to be assistant coach to the Rebels before this current crowd, and he said, look, one of the things about playing for Melbourne Rising is you can try things, and if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter too much at NRC level. You're not going to get your head ripped off, whereas, or you're not going to have a whole bunch of people in the press saying how bad you are. Yeah. Whereas at Super Rugby,
that's because no one watches it.
Well, yes, it does. Yeah, there is an element of that. So I think the NRC, where if you go to some sort of club competition, then a lot of players aren't. Either players are going to gravitate to play for Sydney Uni because they're going to qualify every year, or you're going to end up with teams that aren't full strength, really, aren't strong as they could be.
Yeah, no, agree.
I've gone blank. Adrian Skeggs, the ex-Wallaby. Do you know? Anyway, I'm planning on having a chat with him about what would be if you had a blank slate. How would you structure rugby in Australia?
Yeah, how did he go?
So that'll be a good half-hour chat. Just about.
Yeah.
So that's coming up, folks.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one because a lot of people have differing opinions about Raylene. She's done some great things, and the grassroots, the fact that we've managed to keep a whole bunch of our young guns in rugby and not gone to league or something like that is it's huge, and you can see most of them in the Reds actually. And the Waratahs, you got, Will Harris now 10, who's obviously Waratahs on going great. But he's proven his worth, I think.
Well, let's be honest, the Reds have worked really well with Brisbane City and Queensland Country, and have actually sort of worked with them, had their assistant coaches as the head coaches for those teams, and it's worked. Whereas the Waratahs and the New South Wales NRC teams basically haven't talked to each other at all until last season, which is why you've seen someone like the Reds bring through players, because they're saying, play this player, please, because he needs game time to be a good Super Rugby player.
Harry Wilson is, I think, a huge example of that. The Reds number 8. He's been absolutely carving it up for the Reds.
And he's needed that game time at a decent level, but before coming to this level, and that's what he's got. By was he country or city?
He's a Queenslander.
Okay, yeah, but whether it's Brisbane City or Queensland Country, they've got they've got two teams, haven't they, up there?
Yes.
Whereas in Canberra, you've just got the Vikings. In Melbourne, you've just got the Rising. So effectively, it's your Super Rugby team without internationals. Which gives them a bit of an unfair advantage. Really,
a little bit.
Well, cool. I've ticked off everything we had down to talk about.
Beautiful. So, anything else that you kind of wanted to discuss, or?
Well, no, you should at least tell us about the rugby draft and where people can get it and what it's all about.
Yeah, well, you can find us at draftrugby.com. It's a growing platform. Obviously, I'm a super sub and part of the team there. When they do need me to fill in, but most of all, it's essentially just a great game where you learn. It's obviously based on Super Rugby and have plans to expand. But we're just slowly getting followers and getting a bit of traction in the market. So hopefully, going above and beyond.
But it's fancy rugby where each player only exists once, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. Exactly.
And you go head to head against someone else each week, or is it?
Yeah. Correct. So head to head each week, and it's just a great. It's better than what you used to have on other platforms where you can just have money to actually purchase particular players and then fill your team out that way. And this is actually just one person. You're the only person that has them in the league. So it's great in that facet.
And the good thing is also it means you have to know some of the who is the 10th best number 8 in Super Rugby, because hey, somebody's got to have him.
Exactly right. Because we kind of go off one to player number 1 to 23 off by heart each and every week. So it's great building knowledge that way.
So go give that a try. Not only the game, but also the podcast as well. As you say, you're looking at players, you're talking about individual players, talking about people who are injured and stuff. So you're going to give a much closer insight into a lot of the games. So go and check that all out, folks. I'm sure I'll have other members of Draft Rugby on the show over the coming weeks as well.
It's usually hosted by David Cargred and the two Dale brothers, Harris and Nelson. And both of them are actually physios. So when it comes to injuries, they're pretty spot on about what they know and what kind of advice that they can give.
Oh, not physios. They don't work for one of the teams, do they?
No.
Okay. Insider knowledge would be.
But if they see an injury happen, they tend to know how long they're out for, and the extent of their injury.
Yep. So cool. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hope you're enjoying a beer in that pub that you've stopped at.
Definitely.
Because podcasting has to be done with a beer. I've been on the Max Hop Rocker this evening.
Beautiful.
So definitely drinking and working is a good combination.
It's a must.
So thank you, everyone. Don't forget, head over to DrivingMaul.com. Super Rugby predictions already up there. I'll get my Pro 14 Gallagher Premiership and all that other stuff up there soon. Sorry that it's running a bit late this week. And I'll be back on Thursday evening with Ashwin, and we're going to preview all the Super Rugby games, talking about the Matchday 23s that have been released.